Elite athletes are constantly striving to find ways to improve their performance by each centimetre, millisecond or goal. To do this, they need to take advantage of the many techniques available to enhance performance. In this programme, we'll explore how to improve performance through conducting different types of training, planning appropriate training sessions, psychological preparations, and debating the use of drugs and technology in pushing the boundaries of performance. Deciding what types of training an athlete should predominantly use involves considering the athlete's fitness needs, as well as the requirements of the particular sport. One type of training that an athlete could be assigned to is strength training, which could involve squats, weights, or chin-ups.
With the strength training, it's mainly a lot of Olympic lifting and using the weights to try and build up strength. Obviously, being a ski racer, when you're trying to fly down a slope as fast as you can and you're hitting gates at the same time, it's crucial that you have strength to be able to maintain and try and build on your speed. And then also, if you hit a bump in the course, if you haven't done that type of training, then you're not going to be able to adapt to those changes in balance, and then you're more likely to crash. So strength training is very crucial.
Other types of training that are crucial to most athletes are aerobic and anaerobic. Aerobic or endurance training is aimed at ensuring the athlete can continue to perform at medium intensity for extended periods of time. It is particularly useful for endurance events such as long-distance running, swimming and cycling.
A huge part of our training daily is aerobic sort of base, 20 minutes anywhere out to sort of 3-4 hours. We'll use bike riding, we'll use rowing for that. Sometimes other activities like swimming, and so it's all about sort of the complementing stuff that can help you get in the boat and perform as well as you possibly can.
In contrast, anaerobic or power training aims to improve strength, power and speed, and works on athletes' performance of short bursts of activity at high intensities. It is particularly useful for sports such as sprinting, discus and weightlifting.
Netball's a very anaerobic game in that we do sprint over very short distances, we do jump and explode up and catch the ball. So the anaerobic's important, but also the endurance level in being able to repeatedly do those skills over an hour's game of netball.
A crucial part of any training regime is flexibility training. Flexibility or range of motion exercises help to prevent injury by preparing muscles and joints for physical activity. Flexibility training warms up the muscles and is usually done before anything else, and again at the end of training to loosen muscles that have tightened. Flexibility training is also very useful to enable and encourage the unusual positions and movements that many sports require.
It's crucial that you have great shoulder, back and leg flexibility so that you are able to get into those unique positions.
Lastly, skills training involves practicing the range of motions and movements that an athlete's sport requires.
It's important that you know how to catch, that you know how to throw, and that's a mistake some of the younger ones believe that, because they're fairly basic skills that they can do it. But at elite level, you need to be able to do that with wearing a body, with just a small window of opportunity. You might only see a glimpse of the ball, and still you need to be able to pull it in at high speed, high intensity, keep the ball down at shoulder height. So it's important that all of those skills are practiced by yourselves as an individual, but then in units. So the attacking end, the defence end, and then also to bring it together as a team. So we spend a great deal of time doing that sort of training.
For an athlete to see improvements in their performance, the training must be completed in a way that the athlete's body is constantly challenged with different or more difficult tasks to perform. This is referred to as progressive overload.
Each week or each day or where the body is, you overload progressively. So you can start off with 10 50s or 10 200s, and you might go to 20 200s by adding one on each week, or you might go down to 1 200 but make each one faster. So you're overloading the body in some way and you're just doing it step by step.
There are 5 main types of training: strength, aerobic, anaerobic, flexibility and skill. An athlete's fitness and sporting needs should determine which types of training to complete, and progressive overload principles should guide how that training is implemented. When planning a training session, the first consideration is what the athlete's goals and targets are. Once you know what the targets are, you can structure the athlete's year and seasons around those targets. Athletes' schedules are usually broken up into large cycles, consisting of pre-season, in-season and off-season periods. These cycles are all aimed at preparing the athlete to peak at just the right time for their target competitions.
The mindset is going from broad, lots of information coming in, doing lots of things, trying lots of things, to gradually coming down to focusing on having that one perfect row. So pre-season's laying the foundation. The main part of the competition season is about sharpening the focus and improving the performance, and the off-season's about letting go of all that and enjoying yourself in some way, shape or form.
Obviously each sport has got different demands in terms of endurance, strength, speed, flexibility, mobility, etc. So we'll do a bit of a sports analysis in terms of demands. We'll do a bit of an individual analysis on that individual. One from point of view of their injury history, and also from the perspective of common injuries in that sport. Likewise, we'll assess how they measure up compared to the different demands of the sport, and from that then come up with an individualised training program for them to try to help prepare them so they can compete as best they can.
On a smaller scale, training is broken down into macro cycles, which are usually monthly plans, and microcycles, usually weekly plans. This is where the details of the training are established, and where athletes' targets are broken down into mini goals for each macro and microcycle, depending on the athlete's current weaknesses and needs. You must be aware of when the athlete will be available for training, so knowing their schedule of competitions, games and activities is essential.
We take into consideration when the games will be played, so that we make sure that we get the recovery days. We also have international and interstate travel, so we need to factor that into it as well. How much court time they're getting, making sure that the recovery and the load and intensity is measured. It's also for those players on the bench that don't get match play, what do we put into the program for them that week that will replicate what the other girls have been doing, so that we can keep them all in tune with each other.
It's vital that in setting up a rigorous schedule of training sessions to improve the athlete's performance, the athlete is not overworked. This can happen when there are too many training sessions are too intense, or when the athlete is training while injured or fatigued. Loss of motivation, high or low arousal can contribute to the athlete feeling the effects of overtraining.
It comes down to a matter of deciding, well, how many sessions in, say, a week can the athlete handle? How many weeks in a row can an athlete handle that training before they need to have a bit of an easier time of it?
To plan for training, you must know the athlete's goals and fitness needs. You can then map out the phases and sub-phases of the athlete's schedule to prepare the athlete to peak for performance. When planning training, it is important to prevent and monitor for overtraining. Training to improve an athlete's performance is not all about physical work. One of the most important elements of an athlete's training is their mental preparation, where they prepare themselves for the competition by visualising athletic feats they will perform. One psychological area that can have a large effect on athletes' performance is anxiety. Athletes require a certain amount of anxiety to display peak performance. However, too much or too little can have detrimental results.
Being anxious to some degree or having some sort of worry or stress is actually really good. You know, there's a level at which it goes too far and you don't adapt anymore, and you eventually either freeze or tighten up or become overly stressed, and you can have bad performances. For me, it's about getting just in the right zone.
Our whole lives we've been dreaming of this one moment, so when you do get to that point, it's understandable that there is the opportunity for you to then choke, I guess, because you're so worried because you've made it, and now this is your one opportunity, and you've got 6 seconds to do a jump. And if you stuff that up, then it's another 4 years until you're at another game.
There are numerous techniques to deal with over-anxiety, one of which is deep breathing or centering.
We practice breathing from quite low down and slow the breathing down, just making sure that they inhale and exhale very slowly so that they can sort of remain calm.
Visualization is a particularly useful tool that athletes can use to practice and perfect movements and to prepare themselves for competition.
Before any major competition, I've probably visually and mentally rehearsed the race 10,000 times, minimum.
Athletes can prepare themselves for how they will respond and move in particular situations.
One of the techniques is, for short corners, is to visualise the saves you're going to make against the better players, how you're going to make them, what their techniques look like, so that when you come to face them, you don't have to worry about any of that stuff, because in your head you've seen it all before, you've gone through these plays.
Visualisation can also be used as a technique during competition, as a way to lessen the anxiety associated with competing.
You might be at the start of a runway and just close your eyes for a second and think about being back at your home track where you've spent all this time training, and just try and block out the fact that there are thousands of people surrounding you, cheering you on, and the fact that you're at this huge event that if you don't perform at, you're going to be extremely disappointed.
Goal setting is a psychological tool that many athletes use to motivate themselves to improve performance.
When I did my training program and my goals, I said, all right, I want to lift 5% more weight in the gym. I want to do 5% more better time on the track. I want to do everything, in these small little percentages, and you'd be surprised, after not much time, everything started to improve.
It's crucial to set goals which motivate the athlete. And for this reason, it's critical to check that goals conform to the SMART Goals principle. In this acronym, S stands for specific. The goal must be specific to each individual athlete. M is for measurable. The goal must be able to be measured, so that the athlete has a concrete target to meet and can know when they have achieved this goal. A is for adjustable. Goals should be able to be slightly modified if required. R is for realistic. The goal must be achievable, or it will actually be demotivating to the athlete. And T is for time-phased, which means that the goal needs to have a time frame in which it should be achieved. There are many psychological preparations and tools that can help to improve performance, including anxiety management strategies, using visual imagery, and setting SMART goals. There are many options available to athletes to help push the boundaries of what they can achieve. One way that athletes may attempt to improve their performance is through the use of banned drugs. The banned drugs that might improve athletic performance depends on what sport the athlete competes in. To improve an athlete's performance in strength-based activities, some common banned drugs include human growth hormones and anabolic steroids.
Steroids are the main uses for power athletes, so sprinters, jumpers, anything that involves a short amount of time but a maximum intensity in being able to give that quick burst of speed or power that's needed.
EPO, or erythropoietin, is a drug that helps to increase athletes' endurance levels.
EPO is for more endurance athletes, so long-distance cyclists have received a lot of coverage in the media recently for improving their ability to go endurance and to keep the speed up for such long periods of time, which other athletes aren't able to do.
Sports bodies have strict guidelines in place, and if an athlete is caught using banned drugs, the consequences can be career-shattering. Athletes must advise these bodies of where they will be at all times and can be visited at any time to be randomly tested.
The benefits of drug testing are that it keeps people more or less honest.
Taking banned drugs to improve sports performance comes with many physical risks. Side effects can include osteoporosis, fatigue, headaches, anxiety, kidney failure, blood clots, strokes, heart failure, and increased masculinity in women. It can even cost athletes their lives.
One of the most famous ones was the cyclist Tommy Simpson, who died during the Tour de France for amphetamine abuse, and there's been a long line of athletes since.
Using banned drugs in sports doesn't just have physical costs.
If you are caught using drugs, there are huge negatives that then come with that. Your reputation and everything that you have done in your sporting career then becomes tainted. There's always going to be a question of, when they won that medal, they were probably using, and so everything that you've spent your whole life working towards then becomes shameful, and you lose your reputation, and people don't trust you.
It also has other effects, such as loss of sponsorship money and being excluded from any future competition.
The loss of your teammates, the loss of your standing within that group, your own personal losses in terms of income and standing, and the ability to just play the game. And netballers love playing the sport, so you would be banned from playing at every level, not just the international level, not just at the elite level. You would be banned from every level in the sports.
In contrast to banned performance-enhancing drugs, taking advantage of technological breakthroughs can be a legal way to improve performance. Athletes' clothing is one area that is constantly being revised as new technology emerges. Compression garments have helped athletes to achieve better results, as have new shoe models.
Things with shoe improvements helping prevent injuries and also helping optimal performance in terms of the latest technology with spikes that you use when you're running or you're jumping. So technology plays a huge part, and as it keeps progressing, it's just helping us perform better.
Technology can also be used to monitor athletes' performance.
Things like speed devices and stroke rate devices in the boat. The advantage for us is, if we can get the rate, a certain number of strokes per minute, we can train to a certain level, say 34 strokes per minute. If you can learn how to sit on that rate and you can have a lower heart rate, we have indicators there that tell us we're doing it better. You get a physical sense yourself anyway, but the technology helps bring all that to life. The ability to measure and monitor everything as you go, add GPS devices into it. All of a sudden you're able to track every training session, have it in a database, and effectively start to see the patterns over time.
Video analysis helps to expand the performance measuring and monitoring capabilities for the athlete, allowing them and their coach to analyse sports movements in detail and review past performances. In sport, drugs can be used to improve strength, endurance, and mask the use of other banned drugs. Banned drug use in sport carries severe physical, psychological, and external costs. Technology can be used to measure, analyse, and improve performance. Improving performance in elite athletes involves considering the physical types of training the athlete will complete, planning training programs, psychologically preparing the athlete, and pushing the boundaries using legal technological advances. Through combining these powerful tools and techniques, you can create the best and most comprehensive path to success.